Thank you. And continuing the theme, now beyond process metrics, what matters most? Now, metrics are important, and we've all been in metrics for a very long time, but most of the metrics are around process input metrics, not about what happens to patients and how they feel about it. My background before I joined the dark side and became Chief Medical Officer was as a renal transplant physician, and we were desperately interested in outcomes, and we had most probably the oldest registry that is still operating. Every dialysis and transplant patient since 1967 is still on there. But those metrics were metrics designed by the clinicians, not by what happened to the patients other than their creatinine. Now, there's no doubt there is a rise in consumerism, and we've heard this all day, and this is really a major centre key. The consumers are important to us. They're our patients. They're the ones who we treat, and they're the ones who hopefully will come back to us as patients and will talk to their friends and families, and hopefully we've done the right thing. Now, Ramsay's became very interested in what they could do to promote this. And there's three themes to what is happening at Ramsay Healthcare as a result. We're looking at measuring true patient outcomes to see not only are the processes right, but the processes actually produce a good patient outcome. The second thing we're looking at is delivering beyond the hospital walls, because I've had a long-standing belief that we do very well in hospitals, but it's actually at the front door and the back door where we infrequently just drop the ball and the patients don't do as well as we'd like. And we've heard already about the need, all the speakers have spoken about the need for the digital interventions. And I have no doubt that any industry that doesn't embrace the digital technology is going to die. Just ask cab charge. So what matters most to patients? Well, at the moment now, the prostate, there's lots of guys in the room here with grey hair. Prostates are terribly important to us. And at the moment, when people choose to have their prostate dealt with, they talk to their friends, their wives talk to their friends, they go onto various websites, and it is very hard to know what really is important. And this not only occurs for prostates, and I've used that as an exemplar, for a whole range of diseases. It's very hard for patients to make that informed choice. And a lot of surgery is elective, where there is the time and the opportunity to have an informed choice. So we really need to have true outcome measures to try and have them transparent and useful. We're pretty good at structural measures, as I've mentioned, and all of our hospitals are really rate very well in that important process measurements. It's the outcomes that we now need to turn to. So Ramsay Healthcare is looking at a range of these issues. The first, we've signed up to ICHOM, which is the international, and I always forget I get it all wrong, everybody will just look it up. But it will give us the opportunity to measure between hospitals, both nationally and internationally. In being a global chain, this is important to us, that what we look at quality is not only within the Australian sector, but also in the international sector. And we can measure outcomes locally, and we can measure them internationally. We can measure them within hospital, and we can handle the data accordingly. And we've chosen as a starter to sign up to low back pain and how to manage low back pain, hip and knee replacements, which are clearly a high volume, high importance, cataract surgery, which we're going to do out of the UK, coronary artery disease, depression and anxiety, which is a very important area to us, and prostate cancer. And I think this is actually a very big suite to take on, and a lot of work with a lot of dedicated clinicians, establishing clinician patterns, and convincing patients that they need to be a part of it because they're an essential part of the reporting mechanism. And just a very short part of a longer video is how we get the patients involved. Oh, we've lost it. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Trish Hogan. I'm the CEO of Pindara Private Hospital. Pindara is taking part in an international medical research project to find out what matters most to patients. The research is part of an alliance between Ramsay Health Care and the International Consortium of Health Outcomes Measurement, ICHOM, and we need you to be involved.
Why has Pindara been selected? Pindara is one of a few private hospitals in Australia with a dedicated neurosciences unit. This cutting-edge unit is serviced by an experienced team.
Well, we'll move on. There's the free ad. The second, I think, important area is looking at delivering care beyond the hospital walls. And this is an area I've personally had a long time interest in. And the first project we're undertaking in association with the George Institute is an M-Health project. They've already published out of Westmead a very interesting trial following acute coronary admissions, and they have selected a number of generic SMSs, 4 per week for a period of time, to remind patients to take their medications, to do physical activity, etc., and watch their diet. And this was recently published and had a very significant reduction in return of coronary symptoms and return to hospital care. And we are going to be looking at this as post-discharge in a randomised controlled trial of depression. There's already a fair amount of data that patients post-discharge whose activity levels fall, in fact, have a much higher readmission rate. So this is the first of our post-hospital discharge trials to start looking at, can we in fact continue to improve the care given in hospital and prevent readmissions. So Text Me Well will most probably start later this year, and I suspect that will be a very exciting and improved patient care, and then we can start looking at other clinical entities. The second area is digital intervention, and we've heard a lot about this. Ramsay's My Care project commenced a little while ago. It's been redefined, and this is really giving the patients a much better pre-admission experience. Once their material is on the system, they can be used for any further admissions, and once again in hospital they can link up with a lot of their data and be an interactive part of their admission with the staff. Lastly, of course, the doctors are our consumers also. And again, from Michael's talk before lunch, the lack of information transfer between the hospital, the doctors and the patients is something we're looking at with the doctor's app, so the doctor can get real-time information, ECGs, and expanding the very rapid information exchange. So these are the sorts of things, because there's obviously the very beginning of the digital explosion that I believe that we're going to be using, iPads, phones. I don't know where we're going after iPad phones. Most probably will be all have chips in. So in summary, what we're looking at Ramsay, which is I think the beginning of an exciting journey, is firstly measuring those outcomes that matter most to patients, comparing them within Australian healthcare institutions and globally, benchmarking these and improving care based on our findings, looking at ways to deliver care beyond the hospital walls, and improving our digital platforms so patients have a better experience before, during and after hospitalisation, and all that terrific information that doctors need, nurses need, to make the patient experience safer and better using digital technology. Thank you. Ready for questions?